Good evening. My name is Blake Bailey. I'm a paramedic student at Cedar Valley College. And a member of the Cedar Hill Fire Department. Today I'm going to be talking about the Las Vegas shooting and all aspects in regards to active shooter responses. October 1st, 2017, we have a mass shooter open fire on a crowd during the Route 91 Music Festival in Las Vegas. The shooter was on the 32nd story, wounded 413 and killed 60 individuals. EMS response included pre-planning, coordination with fire departments and law enforcement. We have triage, treatment sectors, and transportation of the patients to the appropriate facility. We're going to briefly go over these pictures here for some clarity. Some more timeline related stuff in regards to the Las Vegas shooting. It's considered the most deadliest shooting by one gunman in American history. 9:59, he begins firing. We see our first EMS dispatch at 10:08. This is a map of the surrounding hospitals and their corresponding criteria. We see our most patients go to Sunrise Hospital, which is a level 2 trauma center. I think this was a little farther than the Desert Springs Hospital. That's also a level 2 trauma center. But who knows what their capabilities are in regards to size and how many patients they can hold and how many patients were there at the time. Here's the purpose of our study. We're going to talk about 5 peer review articles that I've done research with. We're going to talk about triage, what method is the best and what's recommended, blood usages in MCI active shooter events, the Stop the Bleed campaign, training and education, and what is the recommended approach to an active shooter incident. Our initial response, we see community ambulance, which is a privately owned ambulance service that was contracted for the special event. They have 3-stage ambulances and 15 providers. We talk about 15 providers on scene, where I think the patient count was close to 800. We definitely need additional resources for this incident. They they had discussed uh, pre-incident kind of plan per se, and what an MCI would look like for them. Um, we see North and Tower divisions produced by the fire department and the ICS commander on scene. However, there was not much. It wasn't very clear on which radio channel to use, so they had a lot of uh, people trying to address people and then not getting any response back at all. Not every responder also had a portable radio, and we'll talk about that in the further slides. Our EMS response, more than 800 victims, 400 of those being gunshot wounds. 130 private ambulances were responded to the scene, 250 patients transported, and 4 triage areas. Positives, we had an effective triage. We called for additional resources early. Fire departments utilized a unified command, which is recommended through ICS structure for large incidents. Our responders showed resilience through long hours of high stress situations and provided the greatest amount of good to the greatest amount of patients. That is the ultimate goal of triage. Unified command was established early, like stated before. What could have been better? We could have had first aid kits on scene. We know that uh, this could be a potential target for an active shooter due to the large sizes of civilians. That alone could have helped personnel in regards to manpower. We have 3 private ambulance companies, like I stated before, with approximately 130 ambulances rushing the scene. Staging wasn't super coordinated, so that's definitely going to give us problems in response. Poor accountability regarding the number of patients in the area hospitals to which they were transported. In this case, we need 3 or 4 information officers. We need hospital liaisons. We need some more communication from our higher ups in our ICS structure. Evidently, though, within the first hour, we see 200 patients being transported, and the goal of a patient with severe trauma is a higher level of care. In the end, I think this is a positive on EMS. However, it could have been better if there was proper communication. We also see a pretty big hiccup here from the Department of Homeland Security in their after action report. They talk about how fire department teams and EMS response, they were actually triaging patients differently. Fire department teams were utilizing a sorting aspect, just putting a black or an orange tag on somebody, while the EMS were using the more standard approach of a start and assault method. This caused duplication of effort. I recommend that if joint trading would have been done, problems like this wouldn't have arose. Um, Patients being triaged initially multiple times takes away from those who haven't. Radios. Uh, I think that portable radio should be considered your PPE for every responder, for every call. Um, Not only does it pose a safety concern, but it also enables the responder from relaying important information. Asher is an article that I've discovered. It's new to me. It talks about the recommended approach to active shooter events. Traditionally, we let EMS kind of sit back and let law enforcement clear the scene. So EMS is traditionally in the cold zone. However, this recommends, and it's through NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, that states that EMS should provide threat-based care in the warm and hot zones. So this is going to require a lot of joint training through EMS, fire departments, and law enforcement on what this should look like. Another slide here that talks about it. Um, we also see here that we need appropriate gear such as Kevlar vests and helmets. Training, and more training. It also talks about how unified command structure is needed for an active shooter response due to the large scale of the event that's occurring. Medical directors should hold their agencies accountable while also providing the adequate training. Blood products. We know that blood products improve patient outcomes. The Las Vegas shooting alone implemented over 500 units, which also taxed the system. Medical directors should revisit the option to get whole blood products on scene for responders to utilize in future events. Our standing protocol should be adjusted for active shooter responses, and it encourages medical directors to provide the training needed. Our role as the EMS provider, our role is to provide unified command structure, call for our resources early, right? We're going to train and we're going to be educated. We need to know that our agencies need to be aware of that we need more training and more education so that we're well prepared to respond to these events. According to the article, 22% of responders reported they have not had any training within the last year, and another 19 reported that they have only had less than 5 hours of training in the preceding year. And we wonder why our MCIs go a little rough. If we can have joint training and just more training alone, it's gonna enable our providers and paramedics with more confidence. Our Stop the Bleed campaign was published in October of 2015. It encourages all first responders and cities to hold trainings for citizens. This enables citizens, or citizens with basic training such as direct pressure, tourniquet application, and life-saving airway measures. This can directly affect the already taxed system in a mass casualty response. I did some research on the difference between SALT and START. I have some algorithms there down in the bottom if you're unfamiliar with these triage processes. From the research that I conducted, it determines that there's not a initial better method of the two, but it recommends that you should do what you're most comfortable with, and with what you're most efficient in regards to doing. Just remember that our triage shouldn't take any longer than 30 to 60 seconds per patient. Our conclusion, I've got some bullet points here that will help every responder in the times of high stress in an MCI active shooter event. Keep calm and stay safe. Ensure you have the supplies equipped and stocked. You're going to need them. This is something that comes down to preparedness and something that you should be doing at the morning of every shift is checking off your ambulance. We're going to review our ICS principles, our transport plans, go through your department or agency's SOPs over what this should look like so you're more familiar with them. Here is just what the Homeland Security thought that the overall incident did well. Cross-agency collaboration is quick and effective. Response training that is tailored to address is an especially valuable preparedness investment. We need to learn from these mass casualty incidences, and we just got to train more on them. We got to have joint training through EMS, fire, and law enforcement for this to be a success. This is what we learned. It's a little recap of what we've already discussed. And here are my references. Have a good night.